We're back in the kitchen and we are making cinnamon rolls today. Now, we already made the whole wheat sandwich bread, which we ultimately decided was just a really soft dough. It wasn't something that we felt like really challenged the mixers. So today we're going to do cinnamon rolls, which is an enriched dough, and it's something that typically gets kneaded for a long time in order to achieve proper gluten formation so you can get a good rise. So we're starting right now with the Nutrimill and the Bosch. Both of them have the dough hook attachment. The Nutrimill has that nice little dough hook extender. So hopefully that's going to encourage the dough to stay right inside of the bowl and get going. This is what the Bosch is known for, is for, you know, making a lot of bread. So we're gonna go for it. Very excited. Okay, here we go, let's do it. This is on low speed and it's mixing pretty fast. The Bosch we know is always really fast. Here's the Nutrimill. Oh, nice! It's got a good little clump of dough in there. The Bosch is pretty messy on the outside. I'm excited to see it finally come together once it does. Yeah, Stacy's looks gorgeous. Look how clean that is. So the dough is climbing the column. A lot of that dough is just not really moving. But it seems like these dough hooks are really gently kneading the dough. If you look at the Nutrimill, Stacy just mentioned how the dough kind of switches from one of the hooks to the other, and it's almost slightly like turning in between the switch. So it is being kneaded.
It's like, take a look at like the difference in these. I can never get this bowl. There we go. Like, look at how this dough has come together. This one has still come together. This is after she scraped it, but you can see there's a lot stuck to that middle column.
There's so much. And I'm using the dough hook that is solid metal. This is the one that comes with the Bosch, but it has like this extender on it that doesn't quite sit along the column, so it's not blocking any of that dough from climbing. Stacy has the one that has a dough hook extender on it, and that's keeping everything clean. Her dough is beautiful, it's in a ball. Mine is still kind of sticking to the column, so we'll see how we get.
Something else though is like, this is definitely more gentle than the Bosch, but there is still some tearing. Like, you can see a little bit of dough stuck to this dough hook. So there's still just a little bit of tearing. It's not nearly as much as this attachment, but it's not necessarily something that you want with your bread, but I still think that this dough looks great. I'm never gonna say no to a cinnamon roll, so.
Neither am I. Okay, so we are going to let this dough rise in the mixing bowl for about an hour, I think the instructions say. And while it's rising, we're gonna get going on the KitchenAid mixers. We're back for part 2, and here we go, cinnamon rolls.
Let's do it.
Alright, I've just added my butter and the 6-quart. There's a lot of flour stuck along the sides, so this tells me the bowl is pretty wide, obviously. Needs some help being scraped down with a spatula. Here's Stacy's in the 5-quart. If I can get it to focus a little bit.
I'll increase it to 2. Try and get those eggs in a little bit better.
The dough has come together. It looks really good.
still pretty scraggly.
There's still some more liquidy dough on the bottom of mine. I think it's starting to come together a little bit more because it looks less than it did like a minute ago. But you can hear the KitchenAid working hard.
How far are we in on our timer, Stacy?
We are almost halfway through, a little bit less. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left.
My dough's doing okay. It's up at the top, but not creeping up. Stacy's is starting to get up above the plate. Just a little bit. Nothing to be alarmed about yet. We're still struggling to get that bottom part incorporated.
It's like a break underneath yours almost.
Like a what?
A break. So it's like there's the ball of dough on top and then there's like a little
yeah, there's like
dough
two.
on the bottom.
Yeah, I see it now.
Alright, so I don't think we reached window pane at all.
Not quite.
It's soft.
Coming apart. It is very soft.
When we talked to KitchenAid on the phone, their rep told us that 4 minutes is all you need with the KitchenAid because of the hook and the constant motion. But looking at this dough, you can clearly tell like that is not window pane ready at all. Like that is super soft, probably not very much gluten developed. So
We mixed it for half the amount of time as the Bosch and the Nutrimill. I think that if KitchenAid is telling us that all we need is 4 minutes, we should go for it and see how it turns out.
okay, stay tuned.
All right, we have got our dough. It has slightly more than doubled in size. It's very warm in this room today. It feels very puffy and perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and roll these out at the same time just for the sake of saving some time. And our KitchenAid dough is ready too. So we're just gonna get rolling and get baking.
Let's do it. You're gonna take one from the middle, but the swirl on this, it's like okay, it's just really loose, not as tight. It was hard to get it tight because of how soft the dough is.
We are surrounded by cinnamon rolls.
It's a good day.
It's a great day. The 5-quart and the 6-quart KitchenAids definitely have had the softest dough. It was the hardest to roll out, and they are the cinnamon rolls that I would say rose the least.
I agree.
You can definitely tell that these were like difficult to cut because they're kind of jagged around the edges. The Bosch and the Nutrimill got pretty good rise. I mean, they all look pretty similar. I wouldn't be disappointed in eating any of these.
If somebody gave me any of these, I would gladly eat them. But I will say, if you're looking at them side by side, there's a ton of difference. Also, with the KitchenAids, the way they rose was weird. They rose a lot on the bottom, but then they kind of like did a cone thing almost, like they're more narrow on the top.
Right, they did like spread out in the pan when they were supposed to be rising, and then when they were baking, the middles came up higher. And then they've kind of collapsed after that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at how flat this is. Just lifting that up, it's like it feels like it's collapsed.
Interesting.
Okay, so 6 quart. 5 quart is not quite as soft. The 6 quart is really soft, and the 5 quart feels like it's holding up a little more.
This is the Nutrimill right here.
How does that feel?
It feels, this is a cinnamon roll. If I had to choose out of any of them, I want this one.
Oh, and the Bosch is so nice and firm.
Yeah.
The crumb on the edge right there, it looks perfect. It's very fluffy. Oh, the Nutrimill feels the same to me.
Yeah, they feel identical.
It's very fluffy.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, so here's the 6 quart. Looks a little bit doughy on the inside, the very, very center. I don't think that it's actually doughy. It's fully baked, but
Well,
that is soft.
there wasn't much gluten in there, so that could be why. It's just like a really weak dough.
Yeah, it didn't develop a lot because it didn't have a lot of time in the mixer.
Oh, look at that hole right there.
Yeah.
There's a hole right off the bat.
A whole and pretty uneven crumb. 6 quart, 5 quart. This is the Nutrimill.
Ooh.
Look how fluffy it is in there. The layers are so even. The crumb going from top to bottom, side to side is all the same. It's even, it's beautiful.
I like
It's very
that.
soft.
It looks beautiful.
And the Bosch.
Ooh.
Gorgeous.
That looks great too.
The holes in the Bosch are a little bit
A
bigger.
little bit, which is interesting because the Nutrimill didn't break down the butter as much.
Right, yeah. And the Bosch, if you remember, also had the solid metal dough hook. And so it seemed almost like it was ripping through the dough as it was kneading. The Nutrimill and the Bosch definitely came out on top with this one.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if I had to choose between those two, I give it to my little Nutrimill friend.
I think the same thing.
I'm
Yeah.
blown away. I think it all boiled down to that scraper. Like with the, what is that? The dough hook with the
The dough hook extender.
dough hook
Yes.
extender.
The part
I will
that
get the names.
scrapes the column clean on Stacy's, obviously it was meant to fit right up against the column and it was keeping everything inside the bowl. The one that was on the Bosch on the solid hook, it didn't fit up against the column, so dough was
Yeah.
getting stuck in between it.
And
It
that's where
became
the
a
tearing
mess.
was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was more on the column between that little blade and the
And the column itself. Yeah.
words are hard.
I honestly think if the Bosch had the same attachment, if we used the same dough hook with the same scraper on both of them, they would have both been like 10 stars.
I agree,
It would have been
100%.
perfect.
I know. Now, do we get to eat them?
Absolutely.
Let's do a taste
Yes,
test, see if we can
let's
taste
eat
anything
them.
different.